Daniel Hayes lived in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. He worked as a project coordinator in a mid-sized construction company. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Every morning, Daniel woke up before the sun, brewed his black coffee, and scrolled through his emails. His days blurred into meetings, paperwork, and putting out other people's fires. He was the guy you could always count on, the dependable one, the fixer. Friends called him the good guy. Co-workers called him a lifesaver. His family praised him for always being there, but no one ever asked Daniel what he wanted. And maybe he had stopped asking himself too. You see, Daniel once had a dream. At 18, he wanted to be a writer. He loved words, stories, and the way they could move hearts. But as bills piled up, as responsibilities grew heavier, Daniel traded his dream for stability. He told himself he'd get back to it someday. Someday never came. One Friday afternoon, Daniel's boss walked into his cubicle. "Dan, I need you to stay late again tonight. We've got a presentation Monday. I'm counting on you." Daniel nodded without hesitation, though he had promised his sister he'd attend her son's school play that evening. He cancelled at the last minute, again. When he finally made it home past midnight, the voicemail light on his landline blinked red. His sister's voice cracked through the speaker. "Danny, he kept looking for you in the crowd tonight. He asked why Uncle Dan never comes." I didn't know what to say. Daniel sat in the dark, his chest tightening. He realized he wasn't just saying yes to work. He was saying no to the people who mattered most. The following week, it got worse. Daniel's best friend, Kevin, pitched him a business idea, a risky investment that didn't sit right with him. But Daniel, too afraid to disappoint, wrote the check anyway.
Months later, the business collapsed. Daniel lost thousands, money he didn't even have. One evening, he found himself in the grocery store, standing in line with a basket of instant noodles, staring at the overdraft alert on his bank app. His heart sank. It hit him hard. His life wasn't his own. He was living at the mercy of everyone else's needs, requests, and mistakes. And for the first time, Daniel admitted the truth to himself. "I am lost, and it's my fault." One night, as Daniel sat at his kitchen table with unopened bills scattered before him, his phone buzzed again. It was Kevin, the same friend who had lost his investment. "Dan, listen, I've got another idea. I just need a little more cash to get it rolling. I promise this one's going to work. You in?" Daniel froze. His throat tightened. His old habit pushed him to say yes. That same polite tone was ready to escape his lips. But then he remembered his nephew's disappointed eyes at the school play, his sister's cracking voice, the bank alert that haunted him. For the first time in years, Daniel inhaled deeply and said, "No, I can't." Kevin was silent on the other end, shocked. "Come on, Dan. You've always backed me up." Daniel cut him off gently but firmly. "I said no. I'm sorry. I have to start saying yes to my own life." The silence that followed was heavy. But Daniel felt something he hadn't in years: strength. That single word, no, became the spark that lit the fire of his transformation. Saying no once was hard. Saying it again and again was even harder. At work, when his boss asked him to stay late for the third time in a week, Daniel said respectfully, "No, I have plans tonight." He expected anger. Instead, his boss nodded, surprised, but didn't argue. With friends, Daniel stopped being the ATM of the group. With family, he began setting boundaries, not out of selfishness, but self-respect. And slowly, something incredible happened. For the first time in years, Daniel had time for himself. He dug out his old journal from college. Dust covered its leather cover, but inside were dreams that hadn't died, just slept. Every night after work, instead of drowning in exhaustion from saying yes to everything Daniel wrote, at first, the words were clumsy, broken, but soon they began to flow. His stories carried the weight of his journey, the struggle of always pleasing others, the emptiness of living without boundaries, the triumph of reclaiming one's voice. Daniel submitted one of his short stories to a local magazine. He expected rejection. Instead, he received an email weeks later. "We loved your story. We'd like to publish it." He sat in stunned silence, tears pooling in his eyes. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving, he was living his dream. The climb wasn't easy. There were setbacks, late nights, self-doubt, friends who drifted away when he stopped being their constant yes man. But with every no, Daniel built a stronger yes to the life he truly wanted. 2 years later, Daniel stood at a small bookstore in downtown Columbus. A modest crowd gathered as he held his very first published book in his hands. His name, printed on the cover, glowed like a dream, finally realized. His sister stood in the front row, her son, now older, beaming with pride. "That's my Uncle Dan," the boy whispered to his classmates. Daniel read aloud a passage about courage, about reclaiming one's life, about the power of a single word. And as he finished, the crowd erupted in applause. It wasn't about fame, it wasn't about money. It was about finally choosing himself. The man who once lived in silence had found his voice. And all because one day, he found the courage to say no. Saying no isn't rejection, it's protection. It's choosing your peace, your dreams, your purpose. Too many of us live as prisoners of politeness, afraid to disappoint, terrified of conflict. But every time you say yes to something that steals your joy, you are saying no to yourself. Daniel's story reminds us, sometimes the bravest, most life-changing word you can ever speak is just 2 letters long, number. And within that word lies the power to transform your entire life. If Daniel's journey touched your heart, remember this. Sometimes one small no can open the door to the biggest yes of your life. If you believe in choosing courage over fear, don't just keep this story to yourself. Share it. Someone out there might need these words tonight. And if you'd like more stories like this, filled with hope, strength, and life lessons, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss the next tale that could change your tomorrow. Thank you.